Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're listening from. Welcome to the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. I'm your host, Althea Walters, and this is the show where we dive into the real stories, powerful strategies, and life-changing insights from leaders, achievers, and productivity pros. And joining me today is Grace Redman. She's a transformational coach, a speaker, who knows firsthand what it takes to redefine success on your own terms. Together, we'll unpack how to break free from constant busyness, embrace balance, and create sustainable success without burning out. Because today, our topic is from hustle to flow,
Mm.
redefining success without burning out. So, Grace, I am so happy to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you so much for having me, Althea. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Wonderful. So, Grace,
Thank
I,
you.
I gave a very snapshot of who you are, but I wanted to talk about your background a little bit. You know, what led you to even being in the area of coaching and providing this type of transformational coaching?
That's a great question. So I'm the CEO and founder of Stansbury Staffing. I've had that firm for 26 years, and a big part of my role as the founder and CEO in that business was coaching and consulting with my team, my candidates, and my clients. So 10 years ago, it just felt like a natural progression to start a coaching side of the business because really that was what made me feel most rewarded and most fulfilled was coaching my employees and clients and watching them have these transformations. And so that's how I ended up starting the coaching side of the business 10 years ago. And also, since I was 19 years old, I've loved self development and success. So I've been studying the greats for many years. And it was a natural progression for me to start coaching.
Oh, that sounds quite interesting. And I know it's not easy getting into coaching, right? And so it must have been something you would have feel that natural urge, right? To be investing in other people so much. What was that main trigger or that natural urge to provide this type of coaching support?
Mm. I'm sure you can relate to this. You're probably the person in your circle that everyone comes to for advice and questions. And so, I've been that person since I was a teenager, and I've always enjoyed being there and coaching, mentoring, just hearing people, holding space for them. And what triggered this was my friend called me. He says, "Oh my gosh, Grace, I was just listening to this lady on the radio and she really reminded me of you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, really? Who was it?" And it was some Lisa Nichols, who I love. And in that moment, I just felt, first of all, I felt flattered and humbled. And there was a little voice inside me that said, "It's time." And that's when I started the coaching side of the business.
Yeah. I totally get that. Sometimes, we're naturally the person, right, that other people go to. And it's good when people can come to you, right? You said holding space, and a lot of us hold space for people. So
Yes,
kudos. Congrats on that
thank
because
you.
it's not easy. It's not easy to be holding space for persons. Plus, you have to try and hold space for yourself, right? Or have other
Yes.
people who will hold your own space.
Yes, which
So
is not easy for us.
yeah, it is not, Grace. So one of the things I know is that when we talk about our topic today is from hustle to flow, right? And the hustling is something that is
Mm.
everybody seems to be hustling and bustling. What do
Yes,
you think is
everybody's
causing that?
hustling. Well, what I believe is causing it, based on my experience and meeting with, so many colleagues and clients, is that we have a belief that if we're not hustling, we're not going to be successful.
Yeah,
And that's that's not true. I created the majority of my success in the hustle and grind, and it burnt me out many times. So when I started to integrate the flow and the fun and started to take time to rest, my success was more sustainable. And I felt much better. I felt fulfilled. I felt the joy because while I was hustling and grinding, I was burning out because also I had a belief that was holding back. And that belief was, like I mentioned earlier, that if I wasn't hustling and grinding, my business was going to crumble.
Yeah.
And that's false.
Yeah. Um, Grace, you said it, and I thought that, we are all set up to think that we need to hustle and grind, right? And it's really the culture, and it's widespread. Now, would you have gone to a point where there would have been a breaking point for you to move from hustle to flow? If you don't mind sharing, what could have been that point?
Yes, I believe there were several points. I remember in 2014, I was working with a coach and I went to one of our sessions one day and he said, listen, you will die if you don't step back and stop and begin to delegate more of what's on your plate. You're not going to enjoy the fruits of your success.
Yeah,
And that was a big moment for me. And so in 2014, it's when I took a step back and I started to find, okay, what are ways that I can delegate
hmm,
and how can I integrate, excuse me, how can I integrate fun into my life? How can begin to flow? And at that time, I didn't really even know about the word flow,
yeah,
but that's when I started the process when he, was like, you're going to kill yourself. What's wrong with you? He said, are you stupid?
hmm.
And
So
so the journey began to step back
yeah, and you said
and
there
to
were
do things in
several
a different way.
instances. You said there were several instances. So I can imagine that even maybe because sometimes, we get the first trigger or we get the first conversation about it, and we may not have taken it seriously, and then something starts to deteriorate more, and it just keeps on affecting us. And I realize that a lot of us are in that
Yes,
situation. A lot of
yes,
us are in that
yes.
situation.
And I just had another, we are. And I just had another memory. So when I first started the business 26 years ago, I've always had a coach. I've been in business for 26 years. I've always had a business coach and a personal coach. And 26 years ago, when I started, my business coach said, you need to take 10 minutes a day to meditate. And I was on the phone with him and I'm like, is this guy crazy? Where does he believe that I'm going to find 10 minutes to meditate? This is insane. Well, I wasn't ready to hear that. Now,
Yeah,
whoever is listening, or watching your show, it's very important that we take those 10 minutes. Maybe you don't call it meditation. Maybe you call it a walk.
yeah.
Maybe you call it quiet time. That's very important for us because that helps us reset our nervous system and
Mhm.
go work from a place of flow, create from a place of flow as opposed to the hustle and grind. Now, I love the hustle and grind. However,
Mhm.
I do it for periods of time. And then I know, like, okay, these 5 hours, I'm going to hustle and grind this out. Then time out.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something that brings me joy, whatever that may be.
And I find that sometimes if we even say we're going to take the 10 minutes or time out for ourselves, sometimes if we don't define what that time out looks like, we don't know how to use the time.
That's right.
Yeah,
And if it's not calendared, it's not done.
absolutely.
Whatever it may be, I calendar everything, even my workouts, my meditation, I calendar everything because if we don't calendar it, it does not get done.
Yeah.
So make a priority, make the calendar your priority.
Yeah.
Block out the time.
Mhm. Yeah. Because if we think that for the busy leaders, it needs to be in the calendar. I
Yes,
I totally believe in it because as you say, it will not get done. And we have to pay attention to ourselves. We have to try to rebalance ourselves and get ourselves out of this hustle. There's a question I want to
absolutely.
just ask, Grace, because we've been talking a lot about the flow, but what does flow mean? I mean, if you had to define it for me in your simplest way, what does flow mean?
That's a great question. I worked on a client with this morning. So for me, flow means when I just feel good and I'm not in a place of fear. I'm not worrying. I just know everything's going to work out. And I lived my life, much of it, in a place of fear. So I was not in a place of flow because every day I'd wake up and I'd be worried about, okay, how's the business going to go today? What problem am I going to have? Flow is I wake up and I know whatever comes my way, it's going to work out.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. So I'm coming from a place of faith as opposed as opposed to fear.
Hmm.
That puts me in a flow. And there, I feel like there's different level of flows. Like when I'm at a, like when I was in Jamaica
Yeah.
at, the Marley concert, having a great time, that was amazing flow.
Yeah.
That feeling when you just feel so good.
Yeah. Nice, nice. So we're talking about from hustle to flow, redefining success without the
Yeah.
burnout, right? And you would have gone through your own state of burnout. Many persons would have been, there's a cry today that everybody's saying, "Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh, I'm so burnout."
Yes.
And you would have had your signs and your triggers. But what are some of those early signs? If you had to give me a few early signs of what burnout could look like, what does that look like? Because I may be going through it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody listening or watching may be going through it and we don't know. What are some early signs of burnout?
I believe that early signs of burnout is when you wake up and you're feeling tired. You just had, a full night's sleep, or, you thought you rested and you wake up feeling tired, number one. Number two, I feel another um, symptom of burnout is you feel flatlined. Like you
Um,
don't really feel, you just feel numb. That's another symptom of burnout. And I feel like a third symptom of burnout is when you're having a hard time concentrating and focusing.
yeah,
And it just feels like your lines are crossed because our body can only take so much. And once we're overwhelmed and we're empty, we're in a state of survival and we're no longer resourceful. Like we need to stop.
yeah,
We need to stop.
yeah. What about, you said concentrating, flatline, and just keep on getting tired. What about memory loss? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't, yeah, you get brain fog and you cannot concentrate. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't feel right. You just feel like the best word I can describe it is flatlined.
Yeah,
Like you just feel like just
yeah.
you don't feel up, you don't feel down. It's just a flat line.
Yeah, I can see that happening because sometimes I do feel that. Sometimes I've been because as you said something earlier. You said that you like the hustle. A lot of us love
Yeah,
the energy that it gives us,
I
and we're
do.
just going. But we have to find ways of how to balance ourselves. So, what would you say to those persons who are in the grind, right? They're
Mhm.
either in the offices, they're in their entrepreneurial world, they're leading their businesses, they're leading teams, but they may feel that even when you said, hey, take a 10-minute pause, they may feel like, hey, oh, Grace is just talking. Grace don't understand. I have so many
Mhm.
deadlines to meet, right?
Totally. I get
And
it.
and if we tell them to slow down, it may feel like a curse word to them because there's no
Yeah.
time to slow down. But what do you say to those persons about creating that balance and also taking rest? What is the message in
Yes.
balance and rest for those persons?
Right. So, what we've learned is really the word balance. Is there really ever balance? So what we want to recognize is we need to integrate our lives, integrate our personal and professional lives, because there are going to be times where you are going to spend more time working, and less time in your personal life. There's going to be those times, and recognizing that there has to be time to rest as well. So we're not kind of balancing, we're integrating. And also, what I would invite your audience to do is really think about what is the story you're telling yourself about slowing down? Because 99% of the time, there's a story that's you're telling yourself that's not allowing you to slow down. Because if I slow down, I will fail. If I slow down, I'm lazy. if I slow down, I'm going to lose. What's the story you're telling yourself? I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's powerful. I'm just saying that it's quite interesting because we both have this conversation with persons who we support. And at the same time, it's not easy.
It's not. I mean, I've been doing this work, for 3 decades, and I have to also remind myself, okay, Grace, like it's okay to sit down because sometimes when I sit down, my ego says, well, why are you sitting down? You should be working. And I've learned to say, I hear you. That's an old pattern. I'm fine. The business will not crumble. The family will not fail. It's okay for me to restore. And if I could use this terminology, if it's okay with you,
Yeah,
you
go
know,
ahead.
God, God took 7 days, 6 days to create, 1 day to rest. So if God, the creator of this world, took a day to rest, what makes us believe we don't get to rest? Worked 6 days, he rested on the seventh.
Yeah, yeah.
We were not meant to hustle and go, go, go. It's honestly, it's a trauma response. Our hustle and our grind and our go, go, go is a trauma response. And
Mhm.
so that goes a little bit deeper, but kind of getting an idea like, what am I telling myself when I slow down? Now, to build successful business, yes, we need to be committed, consistent, and disciplined. 100%. That doesn't mean we don't get to flow, have fun, and rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Good reminders about from a biblical perspective about resting. And we fail sometimes to even acknowledge it because it has to be integrated. You spoke earlier and you mentioned about integrating our lives to create balance. That's very important, and we have to be
Yes.
mindful of that. One of the things you mentioned that you use the word patterns, right?
Mm.
And you could have easily identified your pattern to say, when you said, okay, Grace, sit back down, you don't have to be working now. How can we, how can people identify their patterns? What could they look out for?
Well, I would invite them to, like, let's say someone wants to rest and then they feel that anxiety. What are the thoughts in your mind happening? What is the thought? What are you hearing in your mind? And that will help you recognize the patterns. And with most of my clients, majority of the time, they feel like if they stop or slow down, they're going to fail.
Mm, yeah,
They're lazy.
yeah,
The business is going to crumble.
yeah,
And that's not true.
yeah.
That's not true. We actually, I believe it or not, based on my experience, when I take the time to have fun and play, I attract more opportunities. And I've experimented with this over the years. And the last year, I said, okay, I'm going to, buckle down and just focus on work. Well, it wasn't fun. Like it was good for 6 months. And then after that, I started to feel the flat line.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, let me go, but let me start integrating more of the fun. So now I've made a commitment to myself. I'm going to go dancing twice a month.
Uh,
And that's helped me feel so much better. And then, believe it or not, I attracted a few new clients recently. I'm like, my God, so this works. If I'm having fun and I'm feeling good, my business is going to thrive. And I've been practicing this the last 5 years in different ways. And I could talk to you about the experience another time. But based on my experience, when I'm integrating fun into my life, my business does
flourishes.
my business
Yeah,
is better.
yeah.
Yes,
It is because we are better. Whenever, if we are good and if we're better, our business is good and our business is better. Our teams are good and our teams are better. It actually has to flow from us, right? I
it really does.
totally believe that. Grace, I
It does.
wanted to see if there would be any like client success stories that you could share with us from a
Mhm.
client of yours who you would have helped that moved
Mhm.
from hustle to flow, getting them out of business, and what were they experience and what is now their success or achievement?
Oh, sure. So I had a client and she was working in a very high powered position anymore. And what we did is we uncovered, okay, what are the stories that you're telling yourself around this? And a
Yeah.
lot of it had to do with she felt like she had to prove herself. You know,
Mm.
that was another one that you feel like you have to prove yourself because if you don't
Hmm.
prove yourself, then you're not worthy, you're not good.
Wow.
And so we created a new empowering belief. And it, took some time because we had to dig deep and do some deep dive. And then eventually what ended up happening is she left that hustle and grind, very stressful environment and started her own business where now she takes control of her schedule and you'll find her in a yoga class in the middle of the day.
Mm.
And, those beliefs still come up, when we have our sessions. She said, I have other people shaming me. And then it makes me believe like I need to get back to, a standard schedule. So then that's something else we had to work on. But that was an example of going from like the hustle and grind into her own business where now she flows, she sets her schedule and owns her life,
Hmm.
owns her schedule. So she's in much more of a flow. Now, it doesn't mean that those thoughts don't come back. We work on them
Yeah.
and we reframe them. And she knows, like, okay, that's an old story. I don't have to prove myself to anyone.
Hmm.
I can sit, in the sun. I can go to this yoga class in the middle of the day. Sounds
Great.
amazing.
I'm so happy to hear that, because sometimes persons they are not able to transition or make the shift unless they can probably put some story behind it or see somebody else in action. That's just naturally how some
Absolutely.
persons work.
Absolutely. I was working with another client this morning, and she believed if she would be more open to social opportunities that her business would fail. She would lose her momentum. And so then we found, I said, well, who's an example in your life who is open, who is having fun, who's very successful? And she was able to identify, two individuals in her life. And she said, wow, so it is possible. So when we have that evidence of what's possible, it shifts something in our brain. And then we begin taking the steps to get to that new identity with that we want, that flow, entrepreneurship
Great.
instead of the hustle and grind.
Excellent. That brings me to my next most important question that everything has to do with mindset. How important is
Mm,
mindset in the transition, moving from hustle to
yeah.
flow and helping us to redefine our what success looks like without burning out? How important is mindset?
I believe mindset is 100% of it because again, like I mentioned, earlier, the majority of our hustle and grind habits are tied to our beliefs. And most of those
Yeah,
beliefs are going to be limiting beliefs
yeah,
that if we're not hustling and flowing, we're going to fail. Again, we do need to be committed, consistent, disciplined. We do need to put that effort in, no doubt. And we need to take care of ourselves because we would go crazy if our cell phone battery was on red, like we plug it in right away, but we let our own battery run out.
mm,
How good are we going to be running on
oh,
empty? We're
yeah,
not.
yeah,
And then you need time to recover from the burnout. Like who
yeah,
has time to recover from burnout?
yeah,
I mean, I didn't like it when I'd have to burn out. So now it's like, okay, if I take this time now, then I won't need 2 months to recover from burnout.
right.
So it's really a leadership quality because you become more efficient and more resourceful. So,
Hmm.
so really it's a leadership and strategic quality to take care of yourself and find that time. It's we're not martyrs. Like what's martyrdom gonna get you?
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah. Totally. I love how you framed it because the empty batteries, there are so many, the batteries are so empty. We fail to refill ourselves, we fail to plug back in, restore what needs to be restored, and a lot of us are suffering from taking care of ourselves, which is so important.
Absolutely. And how are you going to be leaders to expand our businesses and go to that next level of success if we're ill,
Yeah,
if we're not physically well? If, and then yes, we'll make the millions, but are you going to enjoy it if you're exhausted and
Yeah,
you can't take time off?
yeah, that's it. So how do we then help our busy leaders or busy professionals? How do we help them like understanding at least say 2, 3 daily practices that they can take each time to move out of the hustle into flow or even taking back some control of themselves so that they don't burn out? What are some daily
That's a great
practices?
question. Yeah. Number one, I would say look at your calendar and be realistic with your time. If you're back to back every day, all week, you're going to burn out. And so creating pockets of time where you can do something for yourself, whatever that might look like, even if it's 10 minutes. So schedule that time into the calendar, number one. Number two, I would take, just even 10 minutes in the morning to do what makes you feel comfortable: meditation, prayer, gratitude. Um, I was raising a family as well as building a business. So that was challenging for me to do when the kids were young. And I made sure that I did do it. I didn't have half an hour, but I would take 10 minutes and that would help me set the day, because the way you start the day is the way the day you're setting the tone for the day.
Yeah.
So the calendar, starting the day in some type of meditation, prayer, journaling, gratitude, whatever could work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say number three is learning how to say no.
Mm. Yeah. But Grace, like
Learning how to say
learning how
no.
to say no is such a difficult thing for most of us. We don't know how, or maybe it is how and what comes after that, after we have said no. Because to some people it sounds very simple.
I get it. I mean, I was that person that could never say no. I'm much better at it now. I still have work to do. However, what's more important?
Yeah.
Your energy, because our energy and time is currency. And especially these days with social media and with us being bombarded with millions of bits of information at a time from every source, email, phone, in person,
Yeah.
we're not going to be successful. You're not going to take your business, your career to the next level if you don't view your time and energy as currency and start setting those boundaries. That is going to be a prescription for sabotage, period.
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy. And you can start by practicing saying no to very simple things. Simple things. And you don't have to give an explanation. And if you choose to, you can give an explanation. No, I'm not able to do it this time, but please keep me in mind for next time.
Yeah.
I have a full plate right now.
Yeah. Right. I think what you have just explained to us is also, what are the priorities? What are the priorities and
Mm-hmm.
how are we choosing? Because if you know what are the priorities, what are the principles that guide your decisions, if you know what are the principles and your values that are going to guide how you show up and what you participate in, and how you participate and how long you participate will help us to choose better.
Absolutely. And also, when you say no and you set that boundary, you're giving permission for the other person to also say no and set their boundary. So
Yeah,
when you show up in that, strong sense of self and you say no from a loving place, you're an example to the other person.
yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. So, Grace, we've been having a good conversation. But
I
before you go, I really want to know what's one last tip that you would leave with my audience as you're talking about
mm,
hustle and moving to flow and redefining your own success without the rush of everybody else's decision and causing burnout. What is one last tip that you would leave with us?
mm, okay. So I know your audience is already people that are high performers. They're already committed and consistent with, whatever goals they have. So what I want to leave you with 2 points. Number one, have fun. Please make sure you take time to have fun, because when we're having fun, it changes our energy and we attract those things that we want to us. Number two, what's meant for you is meant for you. Period. What is destined for you is destined for you. You're already taking those steps. You're already committed. You're already consistent. You're already doing those. You're goal oriented. What's meant for you is meant for you.
Yeah.
Relax,
And
breathe.
breathe.
That's it. It will be yours. No one can take it away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing with us, for talking with us today about moving from hustle to flow. But before I close out, tell me where can we find you if we need you? Where can we
Thank
find
you.
you?
Thank you, Althea. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. You can find me at www.graceredman.com or you can Google me and you'll find, me on LinkedIn, Instagram. We have a podcast called Real Talk with Grace Redman. We have hundreds of hours of free content for your audience. So definitely please look us up and find us. And there's so many tips and wisdom there for you for free.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. What an inspiring conversation with Grace
Thank
Redman.
you.
And we're shifting from hustle. As of today, we're shifting from hustle to flow and embracing this new definition for ourselves. And Grace, thank you for reminding us that success isn't about going faster, but we have to be in alignment with who we are and how we want to show up, and also in alignment with our well-being so that we don't burn out. So
Yes.
thank you again, Grace. And for everyone who is listening in, thank you for joining me on the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. And until then, stay focused and stay fulfilled. Thank you very much.